You can start with $4,000 or $5,000, and in 5 years, you could be a millionaire if you play your cards right. Everybody can be good at math. Everybody can do numbers. Everybody can do arithmetic. If we start there, I think more people, more women could get involved in this.
When Warren Buffett does it, no one says it's a scam. It's get rich quick. When Peter Lynch does it, it's not get rich quick. Annette Durkin does it. Why are you doing that? Really? When the last time you stood in front of Warren Buffett's office saying, why are you talking about stocks?
I wish I would have even known about this so long ago, but here I am.
It's your time now.
I can do this. I do deserve it, and that it is possible. Just that shift of mindset that it's like, okay, we are going to be able to be okay.
Awesome. So let's dive into your story, and love to just kind of kick it off with, you know, at what point were you exposed to the stock market? Not necessarily the point that you partnered with us, although you can bring me to that point, but even before finding us, probably through Britt Siva having me come and speak to all the stylists, which love Britt Siva. Shout out to Britt and the Thrivers Society. But prior to that, like, what was your exposure to the stock market? Like, where'd you first learn, like, maybe that this was an engine that could build wealth and that you're like, I knew I wanted to be involved in it?
So first exposure is really just like when I was teaching the whatever, I think it's a 403B,
Yeah,
basically 401k, but for teachers.
just a 403B. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And and then when I left teaching and was established in a salon, my husband and I started investing in with like Edward Jones. And honestly, that's been my exposure until a year and a half ago when you did do the masterclass for Driver Society. And I was like, what? There's there's more? Because investing with like Edward Jones or a company like that, yes, he can build wealth over a long period of time, and it's 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 pretty continuous, but you have to start early or you have to put a ton of money into it, and they're guaranteeing about 6% a year. And when I heard your story, I was like, hold the brakes. I need to look more into this because honestly, it also just my math heart. So I was a math teacher, and so I love numbers, and I just haven't had enough of that lately. And so I was like, okay, let's look into this because I know there's numbers involved. And the way that you explained your story, I was like, this is doable, and it just got me really excited.
Awesome. So yeah, so you did the whole Edward Jones financial thing. And, to anybody listening who uses like Edward Jones or like Wells Fargo or Merrill Lynch, all these financial advisors, nothing against them, but I think people have to understand how they work and what their goal is. And that's what really changed how I looked at the industry. It's like I actually went and studied to be a financial advisor, a financial planner, and the more I learned about it, the more I learned that we didn't manage the money. So we didn't actually pick the stocks. We didn't really pick the portfolios. Somebody else, these were like pre-put together portfolios that we subleased or were given to us through Fidelity or American Funds. There's like two or three big companies that do all the mutual funds, all the 403Bs, and they just name it something different for each company. For you, it's the 202 plan. For you, it's the 306 plan. But it was like the same funds. And the financial advisors weren't even picking the stocks in there or anything. Their job was to be salespeople and bring your money into the fund, and then they go find more people to do that for. So I realized like this person isn't even really investing for me. They're just shuffling it into some fun, and then they're going off to find more people that they can do that with. And so I think if more people understood that, not that I'm trying to take credit, they would give themselves more credit and be like, maybe I could do this by myself if I learned. I mean, you could just stick your money in the S&P 500, but people are like, how do you stick it in the S&P 500? They don't know that you can buy the SPX or the SPY. But just that little tweak, the S&P 500 returns on average 10 to 11% on average. So even to hear you say like they were guaranteeing like 6%, you're like, I could stick it in the S&P 500 and get 10 to 11%. Yet I'm paying you and meeting with you every quarter. Like it's just it's very interesting once you understand how the industry works. So you were a math teacher. How did you transition into do you own your own hair salon or do you work in a
I
salon? What's the story there?
I have a salon space that is basically a large suite, and it is just me in the space. But my story is that way back when I think I was like 4, there's a picture of my dad and me, and he's on his hands and knees with his head as far into my little play kitchen, and I'm washing his hair. And all through elementary school, when we had to write about what we wanted to be when we grew up, it was always hairstylist. And so I was like, I'm going to be a hairstylist kind of mindset. And then when I was in high school, junior and senior year, I had even toured one of the hair schools here in Nebraska, and I was still like on that plan. And then the night before, my best friend had a math final, and she was so lost. We were taking the same class, but 2 different teachers. And she called me, and for 4 hours, I explained a semester's worth of pre-calculus to her. And I did a good enough job that she did well on the test. And so I was like, well, maybe this is the path I'm supposed to take. And so ended up going to college and becoming a high school math teacher.
And then how did you transition out of that though? What made you say,
Oh,
okay, no longer math teacher. Let me get into, the beauty space, the hair space.
so I was a teacher for 2.5 years. So I went to school for 4.5, was a teacher for two
That
and
was
a
a
half.
short period of time.
It was. I just learned that that was not where I was supposed to be after all. And it actually took me a few years to actually even remember that I wanted to be a hairstylist when I was younger. And after my husband and I were married, he went off to be a chef, and a couple months later I went to be in hair school. So
So you kind of just was like, let's go follow, like, we
let's
did
go
what we
follow
thought
our
we were
dreams.
supposed to do to make money. Now let's go follow like our path.
Yes. Which
Uh,
which maybe didn't make as much money as what we could have had we stayed in other positions. Um but yeah, and I'm doing pretty well in the hairstylist world, but I don't want to do it forever. And this is a good way to allow us to possibly retire early, and not necessarily retire, but have this become our job that isn't so taxing on our bodies, and give us more time to do other passions that we have.
yeah. And so you bring a very unique perspective to the space. And I have a soft heart for people who are in the space that you're in, which is hairstylists, my barber, maybe people who are nail technicians, shampooers, all that stuff. I have a special place in my heart for people like that because I understand that you guys are responsible for your own retirement. There's no 401k. There's no company pension plan. Like you are responsible for it and you spend a good portion of your life taking care of everybody else, making sure they look good. But most of the times they don't look at their own financials and make sure that they're good, their retirement is good because you're doing what you love, but there's a business component to it where it's like, now I have to be responsible for my own insurance, responsible for my own healthcare, and responsible for my own retirement. So what is that like being in that industry? And I guess before meeting me, you were just like, I guess finance Edward Jones or whatever is the way to go. But like, what's that like just big picture, regardless of the companies outside that try to sell you something? What's that like just feeling like responsible for your own retirement? And what's that like if you're not feeling like you're even on track for it? Like, gosh, I mean, I'd love your perspective on that because there's people who still work a job and don't contribute to their 401k. So they're not on track for retirement either. But it's different. They have that option versus A stylist or someone in the beautician space, they have to figure out the 401k or the individual retirement account, the IRA. They have to figure out the self-directed retirement plan. So that adds another layer of complexity because there's no company saying, here's five to pick from. So what is that like?
It's very stressful. And where my husband was a chef, a lot of restaurant industry workers are in the same position, that a lot of restaurants don't offer insurance and stuff. And so we did have to, for a good amount of years, we had to go off and find our own insurance. And I was grateful that we found an Edward Jones person, because they kind of helped direct us to, like, this is probably a better option for tax purposes later on, and those types of things. But yeah, it is just all that information that we have to go out and seek, because it isn't, in my opinion, it isn't readily available. It might be more available now, but when I was first into the industry, I had to ask coworkers, and some of their information was good and some of their information wasn't so good, and you just have to kind of figure it out. And that is just really stressful and hard. And I know actually several people that aren't investing, that they're just trying to put money in a savings account kind of thing. And I'm like, why aren't you investing even into just something? And so yeah, my heart goes out to those people, because I'm like, you're going to work until you fall over. And I don't want to be that person. And to be honest, I don't think my body can last that long. So
Yeah, and that's wow, and that's deep because we all are getting older. I mean, it is what it is. Like we all are getting older or going to get older, and you won't be able to hold the clippers, you won't be able to hold the scissors like you used to. You won't be able to stand on your feet for 8, 10 hours, 12 hours a day like you used to. And so th- when you think about it like that, there is definitely an end date to that industry. If you don't own a salon and have other people working underneath you, but even then, like you're gonna get tired of managing people at some point someday. So all roads lead to you have to invest, and to hear that people still aren't doing it, I just hope this message gets to them that like, wow, there's hope, there's another way, and then you can start no matter where you're at because you can't save your way to retirement. Saving your money can't even keep up with inflation. That's just a fact. Like it's not like Jason Brown's opinion or I'm trying to scare anybody. It's like if you just keep your money in the bank, it doesn't even keep up with inflation. Meaning a dollar yesterday doesn't buy what it used to, or it's just a dollar 5, 10 years ago. That may resonate with more people. They might be like, it does buy what it buy yesterday, but a dollar 5 years ago doesn't buy what it buys today, and 10 years ago and 20 years ago. So it's not even keeping up with the inflation. So even if he or she is just sticking it in the bank, and they're like, I'm going to stick it away for 40 years, and they're going to come back, and that money, not only did it not grow, but it doesn't buy what it used to buy when you stuck it away 40 years ago. And so I just think more people need to think about this. So what happens in your space? Because I'm not privy to be around stylists like you are. You're in Brit's group with the Thriving Stylists. You probably have stylists, even though you have your own suite, there's probably other stylists in. Do you guys get together and talk about retirement? Or even if you don't, what are some of the conversations you hear about retirement? Are people scared? Are they just like, I don't know, I just don't like to think about it? Obviously, you had a conversation where someone's like, I'm just saving. But what other conversations broadly happen amongst people in that industry that you're privy to that us outside aren't?
to be honest, I feel like most people don't really even think about it. And if they do, it's probably more of a spouse is taking care of it, kind of a thing.
Now they
But
better hope they don't get divorced.
right. But no, I don't know. Like most people, they think they're going to work until they can't. And they know that they're probably going to have to be on their feet and doing the stuff until, yeah, until they can't. And I was like, I don't want to be that person. I want to enjoy retirement. I want to like go travel and do other things. So
Yeah, what I love about people in your space in the beauty, is it called the beauty space? Am I saying that right? Do they call it the beauty space or what do they
Or
call it?
I
The
don't,
beauty space? Okay.
to be honest, I don't even know.
Oh, because
Beauty
I'm lump
industry.
the beauty industry because I'm pulling everybody in there, barbers,
Mhm.
stylists, people who do nails, manicurists. I'm just pulling everyone in when I say the beauty space. Here's what I love about the opportunity that you guys have. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but here's what I know about that space. You have you are one of like the difference between someone working a job, and I found this out early when I had a corporate job. When I accepted that salary, I remember when I was commission sales. So I had a base plus commission. And people would be like, commission sales, like, oh, you don't know how much you go make. But I always loved it because I was in control. I could work extra hours, I could make extra phone calls, I could sell more cell phones, and I could kind of, to some extent, control how much I make. Once I went 100% salary, I went into management. I was like, this sucks. Didn't matter how much we sold or how much we did. It was like, I make the same amount. They wanted me to work extra 20 hours. It was like, I guess I'm working extra 20. There were no overtime, no nothing. And I was like, why would I sign up for like I used to like being in control. And so what I'm getting at is what I love about and why I think the beauty industry workers have an advantage is if you need to make an extra $1,000 to start getting in the stock market, you're like, I'm taking some extra clients. I'm posting on social media that I opened up extra bookings. I'm going to open up 2 hours early and catch somebody before they go to work. I can stay an extra 2 hours late. Christmas coming up, Easter, Thanksgiving, Mother's Day. You have those times where you're like, I know I can get a power boost of extra thousand, $2,000. And if you can not go shopping with it or spend it, you like, I can put 2 grand into the market and start my account versus sometimes working class people are just like, the only way I'm going to get some money in this account is when tax returns come. And so I got to wait till next year's tax returns because they don't really have a hustle or a, unless they drive Uber or something on the side, they don't really have a way to increase their earnings quickly where you can actually turn up the dial and pull in extra $1,000. You do that 4 months in a row. You're like, I'm starting my account with $4,000. So do you look at it like that, being in that space? That like,
Um,
man, if I wanted to, sometimes you might be like, I don't want to work that hard, but if you wanted to,
yeah, 100%. You could add on a day of work and yeah, a couple extra clients and yeah, turn up your funnel to get more people in kind of thing. But I think what it really comes down to is people who prefer salaried jobs, they know exactly what that paycheck is going to be each paycheck. Whereas, yes, beauty industry people, we don't necessarily know exactly what that paycheck is going to be from week to week, but we do have that potential of adding more clients on to boost revenue or, maybe we're able to sell a little bit more retail that week kind of thing. But what it really, really comes down to, I think, is how we're managing our money on the once we earn it. And you kind of touched on that as long as you don't go shopping or spend it. And that's something that my husband and I have really tried to hone in on the last couple of years is we're not shopping and we're not traveling, but we're doing it more strategically and making sure that we are putting aside money to start our trading. And while we've been working through all the modules, we're like, okay, we're going to put this money aside and so that we've got that kind of nest egg for the trading.
yeah, and that's super powerful. And that's how I operate. When I say that's how I operate, I mean like I am not one that's like, don't travel at all. I am not the Dave Ramsey or the Susie. Don't get a $6 coffee. You got to enjoy life a little bit, but the key is being strategic. Maybe I'm only going to get the $6 coffee twice a month versus every day I'm in line at Starbucks, right? Because I know if I could save, $6 times whatever, that puts me in a better position. But you do have to enjoy some of life's simple luxuries. I'm with you. Like I would never be like, don't do anything. Unless you're really just trying to make some drastic change. Like when I had to move back home with my mother, I sold everything. I wasn't trying to party, nothing, but I had a focused goal for a year. I was like, I got to get out of this house. I got to get back on my feet, back into the market. And so sometimes you got to make a drastic change if you want a drastic result. But just being strategic about how you make your money and where you spend it could just change the lives of a lot of people. But I'm willing to bet you're probably more strategic because you also have a new vision of like the stock market. And I think without that vision, people don't have the motivation to even make the change or be strategic. They're just like, why am I saving? Like, I don't know why. Where you're like, I'm saving because we got to go. If I can get in the stock market and then we can get this money working for us, we're off to the races.
Yes, 100%. So, and I think something that needs to be said is that I was a math major and never once was it mentioned about stock market. That I thought the only thing the stock market was a buy and hold kind of situation. And I didn't even know that there was this land of options and advanced options and a way to not even necessarily use my math. Yes, I'm using math, but just a way to exponentially grow our money. So
Yeah, most people don't know. And did you see that video I posted yesterday about the trade I did?
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. Okay. So I made $45,000 in 24 hours, and it cost me I think I put up 55,000 or something to do that trade. Now I know sometimes people hear those numbers and they're like, "Oh, he risked 55,000 and made 45,000." I'm not bringing that up to brag. I'm bringing that up to say is like I'm like you. When I would hear people like if you're a teacher and you make $45,000 a year, somebody like me back in the day, I'd be pissed off if I heard he just made 45,000 in 24 hours. He's lying. It's a scam. And I think we default to that because we don't understand. And also we get pissed, not at the person, but we get pissed because we're like, I just dealt with these kids. I got to grade papers. A fight broke out in the lunchroom. I had to break up. My car got broken in the kids' parking lot because kids threw a rock at it. I think when they think about all of that, what they went through to make 45,000. Someone comes on like, well, I made it in 24 hours, just pressing some buttons. I did some put options on the SPY and the SPY fell the other day. And it wasn't until I got into the industry that I'm like, oh my God, they're not lying. Oh my God, that is possible. I shouldn't say, oh my God, oh my gosh. Like, oh my gosh, that's possible. And once you start to realize it's like you said, I didn't know this land even existed. And once you know it's existed, you really start to see how you can fund your retirement. I mean, what if I just gave you an extra 45 grand for your retirement? You're like, that would make up for lost times in 24 hours. Does that happen every day? No. But the fact that it can happen in this industry, I only need to do it one more time this year, and that's a $90,000 salary. So it's when you think about it like that, you're like, okay, I got to figure out how this works. And you're being exposed to that and saying, like, there's this land of options where it's just not buy and hold and wait, but where you can double, triple, quadruple your money. So, what reservations did you have about learning this? Because sometimes people hear this and you think they're lying, it's not true. You obviously probably trusted Britt when we did that seminar for her. So, you're like, okay, she wouldn't have brought in anybody that is crazy, but did you still have any apprehensions of moving forward and learning? Because it was obviously an investment to get into our program. So like what apprehensions or what was your mindset leading up to like, okay, I'm gonna get the credit card out and invest in myself?
honestly, it was how you presented yourself that I love the fact that you weren't trying to sell your program to us when you talked to us. And and that actually made me dig a little deeper and try and find you. And the fact that you truly want us to participate in this with the least amount of risk, that just resonated with me. But yet you're like, you can start with $4,000 or $5,000, and in 5 years you could be a millionaire if you play your cards right. And the math made sense to me. I was like, "Ooh, he did a spreadsheet, and yes, it does." And I maybe made my own spreadsheet, and yes, it does. So, yeah, there's still apprehensions because we have already kind of dabbled in it through the class, even though we're mostly paper trading. And there is that fear of that number going down and when it's supposed to go up. And it's like, but I also know that we've set aside X amount of money. And if we blow through that, we're still going to be okay. And we're going to be able to pay our bills and live the life that we're currently living. So that kind of takes even more of that risk out. And the hardest part right now is when I talk about that I'm in this class and what I'm learning and stuff, I get it's just a get rich quick scam and you're going to blow up your account and just all the naysayers. And that's really frustrating to block those out. And I do have a couple people that are like, good for you. That's awesome. And like, we can talk about it, even though they're not necessarily doing it themselves, but we can have a conversation. They're excited for us. And honestly, I've shared it with my brother-in-law, who he's dabbling in the market, but he's doing the buy and hold. And I'm like, dude, there's more to it. And I want my nephews to know about it because I think it would just set them up for a better future.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, you just hit on so many things that, man, I want to unpack a few of those things because it makes me get emotional to hear like, for me, it's like my students are my children in the sense that like I want to protect them, I want to see them succeed. And like in this industry, it's just, it's so funny how people can try to tear you down or be so negative. Like coming from where I come from, I never forget when I had gotten to the stock market, somebody was like, why are you doing that? And like, I think I lost some money. And they was like, see, I told you lost some money. I remember I kind of snapped and I said, I remember, I just remember I snapped and I kind of yelled and I was like, we used to sell drugs, right? I could have took that 1,000 and bought another ounce. Like I could have go bought another. I was in a gang. I'm not gonna say the gang, but like, like we could just go be kicking and go get another gun and kicking some people. Like, why are you ragging me about the stock market? And I'm trying to do something positive when like we just had an ounce of dope we was trying to sell or weed or like, I'm like, you do realize what I could be doing with this money? And I'm trying to invest it. Like, just support me instead of people always being like, it's get rich quick. I'll show you get rich quick. You want to see me go break down an 8 ball of dope? Then you're gonna be like, why you doing that? Why you selling? Okay, well, I tried to invest it and I couldn't get no support. And so that's just a trigger for me when I hear that. Like I started shaking. I get a little bit pissed off because it's like, you know what you could be doing? You could go be a stripper. You could go sell your body. You're trying to invest in your future. When Warren Buffett does it, no one says it's a scam. It's get rich quick. When Peter Lynch does it, it's not get rich quick. Annette Durkin does it. Why are you doing that? Really? When the last time you stood in front of Warren Buffett's office saying, why are you talking about stocks? When was the last time you went down to CNBC and boycotted Jim Cramer for being on CNBC Mad Money? But when Annette does it or Jason Brown does it, everybody's like, it's a scam. Like, I don't know if you can tell that bothers me. And it like, I'd be like, watch us get massively rich. And those same people didn't be like, can you teach me? I'm be like, no, stay away. It's a scam. Like, don't even come close to the stock market. Like, that bothers me. I know
Well,
this
and I
is your
think,
story, but that pisses me.
no, I totally get you. But I mean, I wasn't in a gang selling drugs, but I get this. I get it. But
It's just,
I think it's more because they don't understand it. And
I would rather them say they don't understand it than try to project their negativity onto you and make you second guess what could be one of the most powerful things to set your family up. And that's my irritation. I'd rather you just say, you know what? I wish I understood how that works, but I just don't. Versus that's a scam. That's get rich quick. That won't work. And you're like, I just want to flip them off, but we're recording, right? Uh, Anyway, that means for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna redo the spreadsheet. I'm gonna put it vertical. I'm gonna make sure more people understand it. Like, that's just. fired me up. So thank you for sharing that, because yeah, that can knock so many people off. So many people don't get started because they're worried about what their friend, their family, and the worst. And I haven't met your husband. I can't wait to meet him at our live event. I just want to give him a hug, because the other thing that breaks my heart is when one spouse or partner wants to do it and the other one tears them down. You're not smart enough. You can't do something like that. And you've never done that. I'm like, that is your spouse, right? They are trying to make money for the family and you benefit if they're successful. Why are you tearing them down? Like, that's another one that just rips my heart out. I would do it, but my husband, I would do it, but my wife, she like, here you go again. I'm like, wow.
No,
What was
I made him watch the master class. After I saw it, I made him watch it, and I was like, "I wanna do this. Do you wanna do it too?" And he was like, "Okay." But it's numbers, and he's not a numbers guy. He's a wordsmith, and so I know that it will probably predominantly fall on me, but I wanted to us to do it together because it is our money. And so he begrudgingly has been following along with us. But once we got to the advanced options though, he got really excited because that risk just lowers so much that he was like, "Oh yes." So,
right? When you start to see how you can take risk off the table, you're like, oh, I like this.
yeah, he got so excited. Eh,
Super cool. I can't wait to meet him in person and just give him a big hug and break this stuff down. And so the other thing you said that I wanted to unpack, and then we'll get ready to kind of, I'll ask like two questions as we start to wrap it up. But I love that you're practicing. So talk to me about practicing trading, your wins, your losses while you're practicing, and why you decided to practice. Because I can't tell you how many people, when they come in, I'm like, do not use real money. Practice first, whether you write it down or open a virtual account. I can't tell you how many people are like, doesn't feel real if I don't use real money. I'm like, you don't want to figure out with real money, you didn't know what you were doing. And so some people just like never want to practice. They blow up their account and then they're like, now I know. I'm like, you could have figured that out with fake money. So what is it about? I mean, did you and your husband discuss let's practice this first? Is it because you're a math person and understand risks and like let me develop a win-loss ratio in the practice account before I move to real? Like, what was your mindset and what is your mindset currently as you're practicing? Because I remember when you booked the episode, I think I saw the questions we asked, like, what's your biggest win? And we also put like, if you're not actually trading yet, put paper trade. And so many people were like, well, I haven't taken a trade. I don't think I'd be a good guest for the podcast. Where I'm like, no, you're the perfect guest because more people need to practice. We don't want to put people up here that's like, I just jumped in and made my first $5,000, right? It's like, no, I paid money, I invested, and I still haven't traded real money yet. Can you share with us just that thought process and that experience and why
So
you've even stayed disciplined enough to go that route?
So honestly, I feel it as if it were real money. So I don't know that my husband necessarily does because when Charles Schwab switched to the Thinkorswim, we started a new paper trade account kind of situation. And he put like this astronomical number in there so that he could do a big trade. And he did a big trade and he lost like $28,000 paper trading. And I was just like, and he was like, I just needed to know what it kind of felt like. And what there yet? I'm like, let me start with the 5,000 and try to dabble in it. But what I like about paper trading is that I can kind of, on my own time, I can kind of follow and see what it's doing. The hardest part about learning and investing for us right now is that we can't necessarily watch what's going on. And that's another reason why advanced options is nicer because you don't have to watch what's going on as much. But I do like to check in like between clients. If I have a little gap, I'm like, ooh, what's it doing? And it's kind of neat to see how the account changes throughout the trade, and which that's what's helped me. Just part of the learning process is to kind of like, well, why did it go up to that number and why did it go down to that number? Which I'm gonna pick your brain during the live, and I'm gonna be like, what's going on? But uh it's just with the last trade that well, 2 trades ago, the Tesla spread that we did, I was like, "We did it! Well, it's been $98. Yay!" And but again, I was seeing what the account was doing as the numbers were changing and the days went on, and some of those things clicked for me. Whereas if you don't do that and you are doing it live, you don't know what's going on. And so it is harder to figure out what will happen if certain situations are going on. But yeah, and again, just not being able to get in and out when we necessarily want to, and I haven't learned how to do alerts and like automatic transactions on Thinkorswim yet. So that's another reason we're doing paper trading, because we don't even really understand the platform that we're using, that we're learning that too.
Awesome. Yeah, because for those who don't know, we're all using Street Smart Central. Charles Schwab bought TD Ameritrade. Now they're forcing everybody to go over to Thinkorswim, which technically I got a video on Thinkorswim. I should send you that. I did a tutorial on how to use it, but I need to do a couple new ones. But I do have like a 30-minute tutorial on how to use Thinkorswim. So maybe I'll make sure we get that to you. But it's so important what you said. It's like, let's figure out, why did it do this? Why did my account change up or down in a safe environment versus you got real money on the line and you don't know why the account went up or why it went down. And I love that he lost 28,000 in a paper account, in a virtual or fake account. Like, good for him, because he could wake up the next day like, whoo, that was just a bad dream. Because it hurts if you're like, we just put 100,000 in and lost 28,000, like 28%, just like that. It's like, I'd rather figure that out in a paper trading account.
100%.
Awesome. So what has been your biggest like non-financial win from the stock market? Like something that has not necessarily anything to do with money, but that you would count as a win from getting involved in this industry.
Honestly, there is excitement in it, and but the biggest thing is turning my mindset around that I can do this, and that I do deserve it, and that it is possible. Just that shift in mindset that it's like, okay, we are going to be able to be okay.
That is
So
such a powerful word that you use, is that I deserve it. Like, wow, that's powerful. I deserve it. And so many times in life, we don't think we deserve money. We don't think we deserve our money working for us. We don't deserve to be rich or wealthy or retire. I mean, everybody doesn't have to be rich. We don't deserve to not work 12 hours a day. And it's like, you're realizing you deserve it. And that's a huge win. And as we wrap up, my final question would be, what would you say to women? And so we've been interviewing more of our female traders from this industry, because when I was coming up, and even still now, it was all white men. And even though it's not all white men, it's just mostly men in this industry. And now more women are starting to get into it. What would you say to the women who are looking to get into this industry and start taking control of their investments and their finances? All the way from, we had Soo Yoon, who we interviewed, who's like a stay-at-home partner or a wife and mother. And then we all had out to Kim Hayes, who's an entrepreneur and everything in between. We had Lily, who used to be in the military, who is now taking control of her finance. So we had every end of the spectrum. Well, now we got a beautician, a hairstylist, like self-employed, like everybody. So what would you say to women who are just looking at this for the first time, or sitting on the sideline thinking, can I do this, or should I even get into this industry?
first of all, there's a high percentage of women, girls, that society basically tells them they can't do math. They're not good at math. And I didn't get that memo. but a lot of my peers did. And I think that's really where it needs to start somehow, is that everybody can be good at math. Everybody can do numbers. Everybody can do arithmetic. And if we start there, I think more people, more women could get involved in this. The second thing is that just making it known that this is even an option as as a job. And because I was never introduced to it, even though I was more in a math field. Granted, I didn't take business classes so much, and maybe it is more talked about in the business classes, but just having, and I don't know how to get that word out. And it would have to be like with the counselors, that as people are learning about different job opportunities and things, that have this be one of those job opportunities and put it in front of women. And then the last thing is that I'm generalizing. It's not 100%, but generally the extra household work falls on women. And so they don't have as much time to invest in a class. I have seen women that have done a full-time job, mother, kept the household going, and were taking classes at college. And I'm like, okay, you just need to shift that to PTU, Power Trades University. um, but I think those three things is that women need to know that they can do math, that they can find the time, and and just have the option. I don't know. That's the biggest thing, is that I wish I would have even known about this so long ago. But here I am.
It's your time now, and you know what? You're helping by even agreeing to come on the podcast. You're helping get that word out there, because we're definitely gonna share this episode, everywhere that we can. I think you are doing your part in helping, get this out here, because some women are like, I don't want to talk on camera, but you stepped up and you're like, yeah, I want to be on the podcast and share my story. So salute to you, and that's so powerful. And women listening, who you're so right, like most women they're taking care of the kids, the house, the husband, everybody. I think we need to send a message to the husbands too. It's like, help create some margin for your spouse. Help create some margin. Do the dishes, take laundry over, give her an hour, 2 hours to, and again, we're generalizing. That may not be what everybody's household is, but in society over the years, it's been the females who's been, go pick up some carry out. You cook dinner and let her get 2 hours in front of the computer to go through a module. I think more men need to hear that and not feel emasculated that your spouse is the one investing and not you. No one said it had to be a man's job. It's just, as long as that money comes into the household, you're both doing better. And I, this is my personal belief. I think women are better traders than men. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because we're kind of interviewing women through the series. I said this in the last episode. When women think about getting married or plan to get married, they will get the spreadsheet out. They will go to venues. They will do the food costs, the table settings. They will compare this vendor to that vendor, research different honeymoon spots, know the best time to buy the airline tickets to get the discount. If they took that same energy and put it in the stock market and research the company, when is earnings coming out? When is it on sale at a discount? The best time to buy. If they have the skill set, if they took that same skill set and just switched wedding venue for a stock market company, oh my goodness, they would kill it with the research. They would. And then the women are the most humblest ones in our community forum. They ask questions. They don't worry about looking stupid. They like, I don't understand that. How'd you get that number? The guys be kind of like, I don't want to look stupid. I don't understand, but I ain't gonna say nothing. So, ladies, I'm telling y'all got this. Y'all got this. Annette, thank you so much for hanging out with me and sharing on this episode. Any final words before we wrap up?
Nope, just thank you for this opportunity, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
I I am so looking forward to it in June. Big hugs for you, your husband, and I can't wait to see what you guys build by continuing to learn and practice and eventually graduating to real money. So thanks again.
Thank you.